Salve to Skippy Lee. Today we're going to continue chapter 26. Again, we're skipping 24 and 25, so make sure that you are on page 195 in your books as we get started today. We're not going to go over our vocabulary list again here, but do make sure that you are going ahead and getting your list down and submitting it to me. For chapter 26, we're going over adverbs. And remember, adverbs are indeclinable, which means that you're only ever going to see them with one ending. There's not multiple endings that it could have, which is helpful for us. There's no charts. So adverbs are one form only. Once you see that form, it won't change. And the four adverbs in your vocabulary list I want to draw your attention to real quick. They are magno pere, sincere, tamen, and were. And those adverbs are not formed from what we would call adjectives. And remember, the last lesson we talked about how in English, adjectives can be made into adverbs. We used the example of the adjective great. We add an ly to make it greatly, and it becomes an adverb. A lot of our Latin adverbs are also going to be formed from adjectives. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just adverbs, which is like the four in our vocab list. And there's also a list of them on page 195. Right underneath that list, I want you to look at section 70 where it says formation of adverbs. So today we're actually going to learn how to make Latin adjectives become adverbs. And so to start, they give us some English examples, and I want you to take a look at that real quickly. The first line is in English, so if you see them, they are Marcus is humble, Julia is beautiful, the soldiers are ferocious. And each of those italicized words, humble, beautiful, and ferocious, are adjectives, and they're all describing the subject. So to turn them into adverbs, though, in English, all we are going to do is add an ly. So look at the second line, and those change into adverbs. So for example, Marcus spoke humbly. Humbly is going to be an adverb instead of an adjective. Julia sings beautifully. We add an ly, and it suddenly becomes an adverb. And the last one, the soldiers fight ferociously. Same thing. Add an ly, it becomes an adverb. So Latin can do the exact same thing. It's going to take some adjectives and turn them into adverbs, although we don't add ly. We're going to add a different ending. So they went ahead and did those English examples in Latin for you. So if you look underneath the little paragraph there, their same sentences are now in Latin. So we're going to look at those real quick. So the first line is, again, they're going to be adjectives. So just like the first line of the first set of examples. So the first one is Marcus est modestus, which would be Marcus is humble. The second one is Julia est pulchra, which would mean Julia is beautiful. And then milites sunt feroces, which is the soldiers are ferocious. And so those are all the adjective forms. Now let's look at the adverbs. How do they turn them into adverbs in Latin? The first one is Marcus dixit modeste. And if you notice, they turned modestus into modeste, and that is now an adverb. So for most adjectives, all you're going to do is take off that common ending, in this case it's an us, and you're going to add an e instead, and that makes it an adverb. Look at the second example. The second one is Julia cantat pulchre. Same thing, they took pulchra, took off that a ending and added an e instead. That's going to make it an adverb, and that would be beautifully instead of just beautiful. And then the last one, milites pugnat ferociter. Ferociter, if you notice, it's an adverb, but it doesn't just have an e ending. That's because ferociter is a third declension adjective. So this is where remembering our adjectives comes in handy. So most of our adjectives in the vocabulary set that we learn are ending in us, a, That's kind of the formula. And then if you remember, we learned third declension adjectives, and those will have either 2 or 3 forms, and the second form will end in an is, just like third declension nouns. Anytime that's the case for an adjective, you're actually going to add iter to the ending instead of e to make it an adverb. And we're going to go over some examples because today in your assignment what you're going to be doing is actually forming Latin adverbs from Latin adjectives. So if you want to go ahead and pull up the document, the assignment, that might help you. We're going to start with, well, the exercise 3 at the bottom of the page is very similar to what you're doing. So if you want to look at that, what you're going to do using the examples that we just went over, you're going to form adverbs from the following Latin adjectives and then translate them. And let's go ahead and look at the example to give you a better idea of how to do this. So the example is the adjective they give you is latus, lata, latum. And so what you're going to do is look at that adjective and decide, is that first and second declension or is that third declension? That is a first and second declension adjective because it follows the normal ending set, us, a, So if you see that, you automatically know it's first or second declension, and you can just add an E. So the adverb, it actually just looks like late. It's latte. They take off that us, a, ending, and so your stem would just be lat, and then to make it an adverb, you're just going to add an E. So your answer there is latte. And then the only thing left is to translate. Latus, lata, latum in Latin means wide. It's an adjective. To make it an adverb, what do you do in English? You add an ly. So your translation is going to be widely. We're going to do a couple more of these just to get you kind of going. So on your assignment for today, you'll see number 1 is litus, lita, litum. Then it's iratus, irata, iratum. I want to look at fidelis, fidele, because that one is third declension. If you notice right off the bat, it doesn't have that us, a, pattern. And so that should ring a bell in your head and say, oh, this is not a normal adjective, it is a third declension adjective. In that case, we're going to have to add our different ending, iter. So what you're going to do is take off the is ending, and your stem would be fidel. And then you would add iter. So your adverb would become fideliter. Fidelis, fidele means faithful. And so to make it an adverb, you would just say faithfully. And that's all there is to it. So if you need any help forming adverbs or translating them or anything like that, just let me know. I would love to help you out. This is actually the last lesson that we're doing on chapter 26. You'll have a short quiz on the next one. We'll do some review before that. And then we'll be done with adverbs. And that's it for today. Well, I'd say to Scipuli.